Honorable Minister Shri Tiwari ji, respected Shri Sam Pitroda, Shri Sarkar, CEO Prasar Bharati, Mr. Sinha, Mr. Singh, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and a privilege always to participate in BES. I have been attending BES conferences earlier also, and I just want to tell the Honorable Minister and Mr. Pitroda is that this perhaps is the largest conclave or the largest gathering of all the broadcasting experts in this country. We recall that 30 years ago, there was only one broadcaster in this country, and that was Government of India. And all the expertise actually emanated out of government. So today, if we have done well in broadcasting sector, if we take pride in the fact that we have a broadcasting sector which has flourished in 15 years in an, if not an explosive manner, certainly in an exponential manner, then I think a great deal of credit must go to people who are sitting in front of us. And I say this with a purpose, and the purpose is that I would like to think that the challenge that Mr. Pitroda has thrown to us about redefining broadcasting, about reconfiguring broadcasting, and he said that between 3 to 5 years from now, everybody will have a broadband connection. And the way we understand broadcasting will be completely changed. This is a huge, huge challenge, and I think each one of you who is present here must feel very motivated by what Mr. Pitroda had said, and maybe in a more organized and a focused manner work towards this. It is absolutely correct that the broadcasting as we have understood in last 40, 50 years, or last 100 years perhaps, has undergone a change in last 20 years, and in next 5 to 10 years, I dare say that there will be no broadcasting. Actually, it will be just platforms. Broadcasting would be just something which will be historically understood. We will have content and we will have platforms. And the platforms will be content agnostic. So you can pass any content on any platform. How do you really make use of this opportunity, this technology that is coming up, is something which we need to very, very seriously think. It is my conviction and my confidence that I think the group of people who are here, some of them may appear old, but I'm quite sure they are not so old in their thinking, and the crop of young people who are there will be able to really take up this challenge and really march with the kind of vision that our young minister has and what Mr. Sam Pitroda has really pointed out. I feel pride in the fact that the broadcasting sector of India is one sector which actually distinguishes itself across the world. Where else would you find such large number of channels? And that is not important. What is more important is the kind of plurality that exists. In terms of technology, where else you find this whole range of platforms? You have cable, you have satellite, you have internet, you have direct to home, and we have a population which watches TV, which is only second to China. In fact, 2 years ago, a year ago, we were the third nation after China and USA in terms of TV penetration and in terms of the people who are watching TV, holding TV sets. Today, we are ahead of USA, we're only next to China. 150 million TV homes. Out of that, 50 million TV homes from DTH, almost 70, 80 million analog cable homes, which we are in the process of digitization, converting them into digital addressable systems. And we are very happy and very proud of the fact that the first phase of digitization of analog cable was successfully executed last October end. It was a mammoth task. We had 10 million analog cable homes which are converted into digital homes. It is a number which is a huge number. Nowhere in the history of digitization of cable network has this task been accomplished with such speed and with of such a magnitude. Most countries have taken more than a decade to do what we did in a span of a year, almost a year. And I'm quite sure that the next phase of digitization, which will see 38 towns with more than 1 million population becoming digital, and subsequent phases also would be executed in time, in the prescribed time frame, and with as much efficiency, or maybe more efficiency, as we did for the first phase. Having said that, and having listened to Shri Sam Pitroda, I do have some very immediate concerns which I would like to share with you. I have 4 concerns actually at this point of time. My first concern is with regard to the set-top boxes in the digitization process. In the second phase of digitization, we want to digitize 16 million TV homes, analog. 6 million, they are already having digital connection, but 10 million new set-top boxes will be required. This offers a tremendous opportunity for the domestic manufacturers to supply the set-top boxes. How do we really convert this objective into reality is a challenge. We really need to think about it. The other thing is, with the kind of technological talent available in this hall, how it is that we today are still struggling with the standards of a set-top box. We have a host of, a range of set-top boxes in the market, and consumer has difficulty actually in shifting from one service provider to another service provider, because he will have also to change the set-top box. I think with a country of this dimension and with the technological pool and talent of this dimension, if you are not able to find answers to these questions and to be able to provide to the consumer a set-top box which actually is universal, if we are not able to do this, I think we are actually I wouldn't say that, but we must should feel very uncomfortable about it, if not more. And I think I like to definitely urge and flag this issue that we need to really look at this aspect. The second concern is about radio. The FM is expanding. We have roughly 245 private FM stations in roughly 86 cities. But we have roughly 400 FM stations of All India Radio, and they are going to expand. Maybe in very near future, we'll have more than 1,000 FM stations in the private sector, and likewise All India Radio also would be expanding. But we also have a medium wave, which you are digitizing, what you call as DRM, Digital Radio Mondial. My concern is that while we are converting transmitters from analog to digital, DRM, I think enough work has not been done to make sure that you have DRM compatible radio receiver sets with the people. And I do not want, and I think nobody will like that kind of a situation, that after investing millions and millions of rupees, we are left with a situation that we wait for the receiver sets to hit the market for next 5 years. So this is a real concern, and I'll certainly like BES during their deliberations during this next 3 days to specifically chalk out a strategy where we are able to really make sure that the gap between the introduction of technology and the use of technology by the consumer is brought to the minimum. Medium wave, incidentally, is going to serve a very specific purpose. While FM is fine in terms of its reception, but I think digital medium wave is going to really be a very, very strong alternative to FM, and in certain situations perhaps the only alternative to efficient radio system. My third concern is about the measurement of viewing, what we call as the TRP. Ordinarily, government should not be concerned about it because it's a service for which there is a demand and there's somebody who is supplying it. So, if the broadcasting was only in the private sector, perhaps we need not be worried, except on the ground of public interest. If the TRP becomes a reason, an established reason for deterioration in the content, I think there is a legitimate ground for the government to intervene. But in this case, not only this ground, but the fact that we have a very substantial public broadcaster who may not be getting a fair deal from the existing measurement systems of television viewing is certainly a concern where government will have to really intervene. Now, the issue is that how it is that this whole measurement system is being created by just a set of 8,000 or 9,000 people's meters. As a layman, I am quite concerned about it, that is this the only possible technology to really measure the TV viewing of the people? I really do not know whether there has been any discussion on this count anywhere. But this extremely, extremely important issue needs your attention. Firstly, in terms of technology, is people's meter the best way to really, the best instrument actually to register or to measure TV viewing, or are there alternatives available? I do know that since it is not our concern, direct concern, and therefore we may not have paid any attention to this, but I think it is time that we paid attention to this particular dimension. Why it is that a country like ours, with a billion-plus population, are not in a position to develop our own indigenous and unique system of television viewing measurement. Why it is that we have to really import a system which each one of us know and which everyone really realizes is far, far from accurate and perfect. This would be another area which an organization like yours, the BES, the Broadcast Engineers Society, should be able to look at. Lastly, I would like to really leave this thought with you, whether we can convert India into a truly digital hub of the world. We have a great concentration of teleports here. We have a liberal policy. In terms of policy, I think we have done extremely well, whether it is broadcasting or whether it is radio or whether it is infrastructure. We have been very liberal in allowing FDI in this, much, much liberally than even a country like USA. But we have to really perhaps consciously work towards evolving policies which make India the preferred destination for creating all infrastructure, whether it's in terms of software or in terms of hardware, and make India a truly teleport hub and a digital hub. It becomes the center for the whole world for creating content and also all that infrastructure that is required actually to really manipulate and move signals from one part of the world to another part of the world. I have shared these concerns because there are some others, but I think these are some of the things which I thought directly related to you. I'm quite confident of the fact that given your understanding of the system, you should be able to, if you decide, you should be able to really measure up to the task that Shri Pitroda has talked about. Sir, I'd just like to tell you that I don't think there's a lack of realization of the challenge that you have mentioned. We are cognizant of what is going on around us, What is missing is perhaps to take control of the situation. You mentioned about social media, and nobody could disagree. Social media is one which makes sure that you are able to really disseminate information in real time. You don't have to really wait for the television channels to convert that into a program or a print media to really convert that into a print. And it is direct. There are no chances of this getting misinterpreted. You could give a press conference, but what you watch on TV could be a very selected representation of that press conference. So that risk is also not there in social media. It's real time and there are no intermediaries. So that realization is already there. The question is how best governments make use of it, and how do we do it proactively for disseminating the information that we want people to know, and how do we do it reactively to respond to the situations that arise in particular contexts. So we do realize this, and I'm happy to really tell you, sir, that under the leadership of our minister, we are working in this direction, and hopefully we should be able to really make, if not a lot of difference, certainly a reasonable difference in the way we have been functioning as far as these things are concerned. We talked about commitment, we talked about the need, we talked about the motivation. I think we also need to talk about allowing people to take risks, because I think in this whole experimentance process, or the process to really achieve something, there's an element of risk. I have this very short but a beautiful piece of poetry which I'd like to really read out to you and end there, and hoping that this conveys, should convey actually what is required to be done. I do not know who the poet is, it says anonymous, but it's just a few lines, and I'll read out. And it says that only a person who risks is free. Only a person who risks is free. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach for another is to risk involvement. To expose your ideas, your dreams before a crowd is to risk their loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To live is to risk dying. To believe is to risk despair. To try is to risk failure. But risks must be taken, because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. The people who risk nothing, do nothing, have nothing, are nothing. They may avoid suffering and sorrow, but they cannot learn, feel, change, grow, love, live. Chained by their attitudes, they are slaves. They have forfeited their freedom. Only a person who risks is free. Thank you very much.